Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward.
Chapter 1. The night was as dark as ink, and the cold moonlight pierced through the dense canopy of trees, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor covered with fallen leaves. Sigh. The dull thud of a sharp blade piercing flesh suddenly rang out. A burly, blue-faced demon with fangs stared in disbelief at the straight sword piercing its chest. Its proudly tough exterior appears utterly fragile before this sword. Who are you? There's no breathing technique involved, and you're not wearing a Demon Slayer Corps uniform. The demon's voice was slurred, a defiant roar emanating from its throat as it attempted a final, desperate attack, brandishing its claws. The young man holding the sword had a cold and stern expression. He didn't even blink, and casually flicked his wrist. Lightning Release, Thousand Birds Sharp Spear. Buzz. Azure lightning surged along the long sword, transforming into an extremely sharp blade of lightning that sliced off the demon's head in an instant. The headless demon's body crashed to the ground, then quickly disintegrated and vanished. Ding! Defeat a common demon, gaining 10-dimensional points. The cold, mechanical voice that echoed in his mind made Yuan's tense nerves relax slightly. That's the 12th one. Yuan deftly twirled his sword, then slowly sheathed the straight sword in his hand, whose blade was strangely dark. His name is Yuan, and he was originally just an ordinary male college student. A day ago, he inexplicably transmigrated into this world overrun by evil spirits, and at the same time activated a cheat called the Dimensional Template System. This system aims to assist the host in extracting and integrating character templates from powerful beings across countless worlds. The rules are simple: you can earn dimensional points by altering the original storyline, defeating important enemy targets, or winning over key characters. These points can be used not only to draw new templates, but also to upgrade the current template, exchange for everything, and even travel to other worlds in the future. He was incredibly lucky when he first transmigrated. The newbie gift pack directly yielded the character template of Uchiha Sasuke in his Mangekyou Sharingan era. In addition, the system thoughtfully includes a modified Kusanagi sword as a bonus. Not only does it come with its own scabbard, but the blade is also infused with scarlet sand iron, giving it the same characteristic as the Nichiren blade. Decapitation instantly destroys demons. This template's power is indeed formidable, but what I'm most satisfied with is that the template provided by the system only grants power and doesn't change my appearance or personality. Yuan touched his cheek. By the moonlight, he could see his reflection in a puddle. He still had that handsome face with striking features, sword-like eyebrows, and bright eyes, with black hair and black pupils. He looked exactly like himself and hadn't grown into urgency at all. More importantly, after fusing with the template, he perfectly acquired all of Sasuke's combat experience, taijutsu instincts, chakra, and eye techniques during this period, but his personality remained that of the free-spirited Yuan, without being tainted by the Uchiha clan's unique paranoia. 5 days until the final trial at Tengzi Mountain, Yuan muttered to himself. His purpose in going into the mountains this time was twofold: firstly, to thoroughly familiarize himself with Sasuke's fighting instincts in actual combat, and secondly, to accumulate some initial dimensional points. After all, only by obtaining official status in the Demon Slayer Corps will it be much easier to interact with characters in the story and acquire a large number of points. Just as he was about to turn around and look for his next prey, Yuan suddenly stopped. In a fraction of a second, his jet-black eyes turned crimson, and 3 tomo swirled rapidly around his pupils, eventually connecting end to end to form a complex and eerie 6-pointed star pattern, the Mangekyou Sharingan. With extraordinary insight, they instantly locked onto the tree canopy dozens of meters to their right. Who's there? Come out! Yuan's hand rested on the hilt of the Kusanagi sword again. Oh, wow, what keen senses! I thought I'd hidden it well. Accompanied by a soft, ethereal female voice, several purple phantom butterflies appeared in the night. Immediately afterwards, a petite figure leaped lightly from the tree branch, landing silently like a feather on the open ground 10 steps away from Yuan. The newcomer was dressed in a standard Demon Slayer Corps black uniform, with a haori, a type of traditional Hyuxia garment, draped over it with butterfly wing patterns. Her long black hair was styled in a bun at the back of her head, adorned with a butterfly hair accessory with purple embellishments on the edges. She was extremely beautiful, with a gentle smile on her lips, but her deep purple eyes held an unfathomable depth. Insect Pillar, Shinobu Kocho. The Mangekyou Sharingan in Yuan's eyes faded instantly, restoring his original clear black pupils. A slight tremor ran through him. He hadn't expected to encounter a pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps ahead of time on this demon hunting journey in the wilderness, especially one he had quite liked in his previous life. "Sir, it's very dangerous to wander alone in the mountains late at night." Butterfly smirked as she sized up Yuan. She had just arrived here while tracking a remnant of a monstrous demon, but unexpectedly saw this black-haired youth, who wasn't even wearing a Demon Slayer Corps uniform, effortlessly and instantly kill a demon. He possessed lightning-like power without using any breathing techniques. The straight sword in his hand was clearly made of Nichiren blade, but its design was completely unheard of. Especially when the young man turned around, those fleeting, scarlet six-pointed star eyes sent a shiver down her spine, even as a pillar. Dangerous? It certainly is dangerous for a ghost. Yuan loosened his grip on the sword, smiled amiably, and said, "Nice to meet you. My name is Yuan, just passing by, well, a ghost hunter." "Mr. Yuan? That doesn't sound like a local's name." Shinobu Kocho rested her chin on her hand, tilting her head slightly. "That weapon you're holding, is it a Nichiren blade? But you don't seem to have a trainer, nor did you participate in the Fujikazan mountain selection." Just as Shinobu was about to continue probing, Yuan's keen hearing caught a strange sound. The extremely dangerous intuition brought about by the Sasuke template made him suddenly look up. "Watch out above!" Boom! A gigantic, mountain-sized monster descended from the sky, laughing maniacally, its sharp claws aimed straight for the head of the petite Shinobu Kocho. "Die, Demon Slayer!" This demon's aura was several times stronger than the previous one. It was none other than the blood demon art target that Shinobu Kocho had been tracking. Shinobu's eyes turned cold, and she was just about to draw her Nichiren blade to fight when she felt a gust of wind sweep past her. "That's too fast." Yuan's figure vanished from the spot like a ghost. Chirp chirp chirp. A piercing sound, like 1,000 birds chirping simultaneously, instantly reverberated throughout the forest, and a dazzling flash of lightning illuminated the night as if it were daytime. Shinobu Kocho only saw a blinding blue lightning bolt rip through the night sky, and the handsome young man named Yuan had appeared in midair without her noticing. He didn't even draw his sword. His right hand was filled with a high density of violent lightning, which pierced directly through the alien demon's chest with overwhelming force, tearing half of its body and neck to pieces with its remaining power. Lightning Release, Chidori. Before the demon could even let out a scream, it was reduced to ashes in the raging lightning. Ding! Defeat the alien demon, gain 50 dimensional points. Yuan landed steadily, casually flicking away the remaining blue arcs of electricity from his hands. He turned around and smiled at Butterfly, whose beautiful eyes were slightly wide open. "My self-introduction isn't finished yet. My name is Yuan, and I'm on my way to participate in the Tengzi Mountain Trial in 5 days. Nice to meet you, beautiful lady." Chapter 2. A night breeze swept by, dispersing the lingering pungent smell of burning. Shinobu Kocho stood rooted to the spot, a rare look of surprise flashing in her purple eyes as she stared intently at the demon ashes scattering in the wind on the ground. As the insect Hashira of the Demon Slayer Corps, she is an expert in pharmacology and toxins, and has an insatiable understanding of the physical structure of demons. Aside from sunlight and the Nichiren blade, which contains iron ore that has absorbed sunlight, nothing can completely kill a demon. This is an ironclad law that the Demon Slayer Corps has upheld for thousands of years. But just now, this young man named Liu Yuan didn't even draw his sword. With just his right hand, he conjured a violent lightning bolt that was as piercing as a bird's cry, and completely annihilated the alien monster's healing cells along with its neck. You weren't using thunder breathing just now, were you? Shinobu's signature smile faded slightly, her tone now filled with undisguised inquiry. There was no distinctive heart-lung expansion sound characteristic of breathing techniques, and besides, you didn't even use a sword. You can think of this as a unique kind of blood demon magic that I possess. Oh wait, saying it like that might make you think I'm an enemy. Liu Yuan chuckled, casually slipping his right hand into his pocket. He explained, this is my unique ability, a high-density lightning attribute chakra transformation. As long as the destructive power instantly exceeds the regenerative limit of the demon cell and completely destroys its core, killing demons doesn't necessarily require relying on the Nichiren blade. Chakra? Shape transformation. Shinobu tilted her head slightly. These completely unfamiliar terms piqued the keen interest of this medical and toxicology genius. What concerned her even more was Liu Yuan's attitude. This young man, who looked to be about the same age as me, didn't even break a sweat after instantly killing a powerful alien demon. His composure was not feigned, but stemmed from absolute confidence in his strength. Ding! Detected that the host displayed strength in front of the key plot character Insect Hashira Shinobu Koko, arousing strong curiosity, slightly altering her cognitive trajectory. Gain 200 dimensional points. Hearing the pleasant system notification in his mind, Liu Yuan's smile deepened. Sure enough, it's much faster to fleece these important characters in the story than to toil away killing ordinary brats in the mountains. Mr. Liu Yuan is truly a mysterious person. Shinobu Koko resumed her smiling demeanor, clasping her hands in front of her. You possess strength far exceeding that of most swordsmen, yet you don't even have a Demon Slayer Corps uniform. You're going to participate in the Fujikazan mountain trials in 5 days? With your strength, going there is like an adult entering a child's sandpit. No rules, no order, Liu Yuan shrugged. Right now, I'm a penniless unemployed bum. Without an officially certified demon slayer, I'll have trouble even finding food and lodging. I heard the Demon Slayer Corps pays pretty well. Shinobu Koko chuckled at Liu Yuan's down-to-earth reason, and her tense nerves, which had been strained by the demon, completely relaxed. Oh dear, Mr. Liu Yuan is so adorably honest that he'd kill ghosts for a paycheck. Since we've met, and you've helped me get rid of a troublesome prey, as a token of my gratitude, I'll treat you tonight. She turned to look out of the woods, and the butterfly pattern on her haori seemed to come alive in the moonlight. My name is Shinobu Koko, and I am the Insect Hashira of the Demon Slayer Corps. 30 kilometers from here, there is a wisteria house under the protection of the Demon Slayer Corps. I wonder if Mr. Liu Yuan would be interested in joining us. I am honored by Zhu's invitation. Liu Yuan nodded gladly. Then please keep up, I'm very fast. Before she finished speaking, Shinobu's petite body suddenly exerted force, and with a whoosh, she transformed into a purplish-black afterimage, nimbly leaping onto the treetop and speeding away into the distance. She wanted to test the background of this mysterious young man. Having great strength and destructive power is one thing, but when fighting demons, agility, stamina, and speed are equally indispensable. However, when Shinobu had been darting through the woods for more than 10 minutes and couldn't help but turn back to check, her pupils constricted. Liu Yuan didn't run after her breathlessly as she had imagined. Instead, he strolled leisurely along, keeping a distance of only 2 meters to his right. Without breaking a single branch or making any unnecessary noise, it was as if there was an invisible suction cup, chakra attraction, under his feet. With each light touch on the tree trunk, he seemed to defy gravity, gliding forward lightly yet with extreme speed. No matter how fast Shinobu Koko sped up, Liu Yuan maintained a distance of 2 meters, his breathing rhythm remaining perfectly steady. This way of traveling, it's almost like being a ghost. Shinobu Kocho thought to herself, secretly alarmed. The two maintained an extremely high speed, and in less than half an hour, a traditional Japanese house surrounded by a large number of blooming wisteria flowers came into view. That's the Demon Slayer Corps' logistics base, the Wisteria House. We've arrived. Shinobu landed first, turned to look at Riku, her eyes now less tentative and more genuinely respectful. Mr. Riku, although it might be a bit abrupt to say this now, after you pass the trials of Fujikazeyama, if you're interested, you can come to the Butterfly Mansion to find me. With your strength and that special chakra ability, the Lord will surely be very pleased to see you. The Butterfly Mansion? I'll go. It sounds like a place with lots of cute girls. Liu Yuan replied half-jokingly. Upon hearing this, Shinobu Kocho's lips curled into a dangerous yet alluring smile. Oh? If Mr. Liu Yuan goes to the Butterfly Mansion with such a frivolous attitude, I'll turn him into a hedgehog with needles infused with paralyzing toxins. The two walked into the wisteria-covered house, chatting and laughing. After showing the wisteria carving that represented the Pilla's identity, the hospitable old woman immediately prepared a sumptuous late-night snack and 2 adjacent, excellent guest rooms for the two of them. Late at night, Liu Yuan took a hot shower, changed into a dry yukata, and sat cross-legged on the tatami mat. Instead of resting, he activated the system's virtual panel with a thought. Today, I not only thoroughly familiarized myself with the combat feel of the Sasuke template, but also unexpectedly stumbled upon the Shinobu Kocho storyline, reaping considerable rewards. System, open the panel. Dimensional template system. Host, Liu Yuan. Current template, Uchiha Sasuke, Mangekyou Sharingan era. Template compatibility, 100%, note, the host has perfectly inherited the template's power system, combat experience, chakra, and eye techniques, unaffected by the original character's personality or appearance. Inherent skill. Ninjutsu, Lightning Release, Chidori, Chidori Stream, Chidori Sharp Spear, etc., Fire Release, Great Fireball, Dragon Fire Technique, etc., Basic 3-body techniques. Dojutsu, Mangekyou Sharingan, Insight, Copying, Genjutsu, Amaterasu, Fire Release, Kagutsuki, Susanoo. Taijutsu, Uchiha-style swordsmanship, Sharingan Taijutsu. Dimensional score, 360 points. Main quest node, 4 days remaining until the final trial at Mount Fuji. Chapter 3. In the stillness of the night, inside the guest rooms of the Wisteria House, Liu Yuan sat cross-legged on the tatami mat, looking at the 360 dimensional points on the system panel. He casually asked in his mind, System, how many points are needed to upgrade the current template to Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan? Ding! Upgrading the current template to the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan era requires 50,000 dimensional points. Unlocking higher stages such as the Rinnegan requires more points, please explore diligently. 50,000 points. Looks like there's a long way to go. Liu Yuan stroked his chin and decisively closed the panel. He got 50 points for instantly killing a demon with blood demon art, but he got 200 points for causing emotional fluctuations and cognitive changes in Shinobu Kocho. This shows that simply killing monsters is just a bonus. Changing the fate of the characters in the story and causing them great shock is the real key to getting high scores. The following morning, Liu Yuan pushed open the sliding door, and fresh air, accompanied by the delicate fragrance of wisteria blossoms, wafted in. In the courtyard, Shinobu Kocho had already changed into a neat Demon Slayer Corps uniform, wearing her signature butterfly-patterned haori, and was adjusting the Nichiren blade at her waist. The soft morning light shone on her petite and shapely figure, making her appear exceptionally serene. Good morning, Mr. Liu Yuan. Did you sleep well last night? Hearing the sound of the door opening behind her, Shinobu Kocho turned around and greeted him with a smile. That's surprisingly good. You're leaving already? Yuan stretched and walked to the veranda in his wooden clogs. There's no other way. The Pillar's mission is very complicated. We also need to rush to the next jurisdiction to check on the demon's movements. Shinobu Kocho said softly, but the next second, before she finished speaking, her wooden clogs suddenly exerted force. Clang! With an extremely faint sound of a sword being drawn, Shinobu Kocho instantly transformed into a nimble purple poisonous butterfly, leaping across several meters in a flash. The specially crafted, slender Nichiren blade, accompanied by a sharp whistling sound, was aimed directly at Yuan's throat. Extremely fast. This wasn't an attempt to kill, but rather an extremely sharp probe at the pillar level. As the insect pillar known for its speed, Shinobu Kocho was extremely curious about Riko's incredible reflexes last night. She wanted to see if this mysterious young man, who didn't even draw his knife, could keep up with her speed in the unsuspecting early morning. However, facing this thrust that was so fast that an ordinary swordsman couldn't even see the afterimage, Yuan didn't even flinch. Buzz! His once clear, jet-black eyes turned crimson in a fraction of a second. 3 black tomo appeared in his pupils, spinning rapidly. Under the ultimate dynamic visual capture, Shinobu's lightning-fast thrust appeared to Yuan as if it had been slowed down. The contraction of her muscles, the shift in her center of gravity, even the trajectory of the knife tip piercing the air, everything was clearly visible down to the smallest detail. Too slow. Yuan chuckled softly, tilting his head to the side by only a tiny half-inch. Swish! The slender blade grazed his neck, but failed to cut even a single strand of his hair. At the same time, Yuan raised his right hand, his index and middle fingers precisely clamping Shinobu Kocho's blade. Smack! A crisp clang rang out, and time seemed to stand still for a moment. Shinobu's movements came to an abrupt halt. She instinctively tried to pull back her Nichiren blade, but found that the blade remained completely still. Allah! Shinobu Kocho widened her beautiful eyes slightly, staring intently at Yuan's scarlet eyes, her voice filled with undisguised astonishment. Mr. Yuan, your eyes. If last night's vision was just a fleeting illusion, now she clearly saw those eerie red eyes. Just being watched gave her a chilling feeling that all her flaws and intentions could be seen through in an instant. The most terrifying thing is that, as one of the fastest among the 9 pillars, her all-out probing attack was effortlessly caught by the opponent with just 2 fingers. Ding! The host has displayed the Sharingan's extraordinary insight, greatly overturning the understanding of the key figure insect Hashira Shinobu Kocho, gaining 150 dimensional points. Just a bit of hereditary eye technique, enough to see through the trajectory of high-speed movement. The crimson in Yuan's eyes quickly faded. He released his grip, looking at her with a half-smile. However, I might take it seriously if you greet me like this so early in the morning. Shinobu Kocho smoothly sheathed her sword. The shock on her face quickly vanished, replaced by a gentle smile, though a deep sense of awe and curiosity lingered in her eyes. Sorry, I was just really curious about Mr. Yuan's strength, and I couldn't help myself. After a brief test, Shinobu Kocho's evaluation of Yuan rose several levels. Powerful, mysterious, and adept. It seems the trial at Fujikazan Mountain was really just a stroll for you. Shinobu Kocho pulled a small purple sachet from her sleeve and tossed it to Yuan. This is a wisteria sachet I concocted myself. While it won't deal with high-level demons, it's quite effective at repelling annoying mosquitoes and low-level imps. Consider it an apology for my impolite provocation earlier. Yuan reached out and took it, then sniffed it. A faint, invigorating medicinal fragrance filled the air. Thanks. See you later. May your martial arts prowess flourish. I hope to see you officially in your uniform at the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters in a few days. Shinobu Kocho waved, turned, and walked out of the courtyard, disappearing gracefully into the depths of the dense forest with a whoosh. After watching Shinobu Koko leave, Yuan weighed the sachet in his hand and casually tied it to his waist. "We've rested enough, it's time to get down to business." Mount Fuji, the final trial ground. The place is where a large number of evil spirits are kept year-round for newcomers to practice on. For Yuan now, it's practically a natural ATM for dimensional points. Especially the hand demon that has lived for over 40 years and eaten Sabato and Makomo, is definitely a key boss that can drop a lot of points and even influence the water pillar Gyutomyoka's perception. Yuan turned around, went back to his room to get the Kusanagi sword, strode out of the wisteria house, and sped off towards Mount Tengzi. Chapter 4. After leaving the wisteria house, Yuan did not choose to trek on foot like an ordinary swordsman. The chakra energy system is practically a game-changer in this world. In the dense forest, a black shadow darted rapidly between the thick tree trunks. Yuan's feet were covered with light blue chakra, allowing him to easily leap dozens of meters with each bound. The Demon Slayer Core's breathing techniques essentially involve pushing the limits of the body's potential through specific breathing frequencies, thereby temporarily gaining power comparable to that of demons. But chakra is different, it is a perfect fusion of spiritual and physical energy. He doesn't need to consciously maintain any total concentration breathing, as long as his chakra is circulating, his speed, strength, defense, and even recovery ability completely overwhelm ordinary people in this world. In less than half a day, a majestic mountain appeared at the end of Yuan's sight, shrouded in a sea of purple flowers. Fujiayama. The wisteria flowers bloom all year round, a sight that evil spirits find utterly repulsive and even deadly. The Demon Slayer Corps' senior members imprisoned the captured demons within this wisteria-lined barrier, using it as a testing ground for the final selection of new recruits. According to the original procedure, the selection would not officially begin for another 4 days. At that time, all participants would gather at the foot of the mountain and follow the guidance of the 2 Lolas from the Yubayashiki family to survive in the mountains for 7 days. But Yuan stopped at the foot of the mountain, looking up at the steps leading into the deep mountains, a wildly arrogant smile curving his lips. "Wait 4 days to enter with those newbies whose hands tremble even when they hold a knife? I don't have time for that. Rules are made for the weak." For him, who possessed the template of Uchiha Sasuke, the Fujikasa mountain before him, which imprisoned hundreds of demons, was not a trial ground with a life-or-death situation, but a dimensional points buffet restaurant with its doors wide open. Without any hesitation, Yuan crossed the boundary of the wisteria forest and strode into the depths of the perpetually dark Tengzi mountain. The deeper you go, the fainter the fragrance of the wisteria blossoms becomes, replaced by a nauseating stench of blood and decay. Hiss! They had gone less than 2 kilometers into the forest when a strange friction sound came from the treetops overhead. Humans, it smells like humans. How could a lone human have ventured into the mountains ahead of time? Who cares? I haven't eaten human flesh in almost 5 years. This kid is mine. With a shrill roar, 3 unrecognizable ordinary demons, with fangs and claws, pounced on Yuan from 3 different directions like hungry tigers. In their eyes, the black-haired youth who hadn't even drawn his knife was already terrified. However, Yuan didn't even raise his head. His hands instantly transformed into a blurry afterimage. The speed at which he formed hand seals was so fast that it was impossible for the naked eye to perceive them. Even at this stage, Sasuke's hand seal speed was unparalleled, let alone dealing with a few low-level brats who didn't even have blood demon art. His chest bulged high, and the immense chakra instantly transformed into extreme heat at his throat. Fire release, great fireball technique. Boom! A massive, crimson fireball, over 5 meters in diameter and carrying terrifyingly high temperatures capable of incinerating everything, suddenly spewed from Yuan's mouth. The surrounding air was instantly distorted by the intense heat, and the withered branches and leaves on the ground spontaneously combusted into ashes before they even came into contact with the flames. What is this? The three demons in midair saw only a crimson glow before their eyes, and then the terrifying flames, powerful enough to melt steel, completely engulfed them. The screams didn't even last a second before the fireball, like a bulldozer, swept through the air, burning the dozen or so towering trees in front of it, along with the three evil spirits, into a shower of charred ashes. There's no need for the Nichiren blade at all. When the temperature and destructive power of the flames completely exceed the regenerative limits of the demon cells, they can be instantly annihilated. Ding! Defeat 3 ordinary demons, gaining 30 dimensional points. So weak. Yuan exhaled a breath of stale air, looked at the scorched fan-shaped ground, and casually took the Kusanagi sword, scabbard and all, from his waist and slung it over his shoulder. Then, the hunt begins. For the demons of Fujikasa Mountain, what followed was an unprecedented nightmare. In previous final trials, they treated the new swordsmen like toys and food, relentlessly hunting them down. But this time it's different. A young man in a black uniform completely overturned the relationship between predator and prey. He worked tirelessly, without needing to eat or drink, he used ration pills instead, and didn't even need to look for cover. The black straight sword in his hand was incredibly sharp, no matter how tough the neck, a single flash would send a head tumbling to the ground. What terrified the ghosts even more was that this human not only possessed terrifying swordsmanship, but could also unleash lightning and flames. In just one day, Yuan single-handedly wiped out almost all the evil spirits in the outer and middle sections of Tengzi Mountain. Monster, that guy is definitely a pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps. Why would a pillar come in and slaughter the mountain? Run! Don't let him target you. Those red eyes, one look and you're dead. The remaining evil spirits trembled and fled frantically toward the deepest part of Fujikazan Mountain. At this point, there were only 3 days left before the actual final trial began. In the central area of Tengzi Mountain, amidst a vast, open forest of scattered rocks, Yuan flicked the black blood off the Kusanagi sword and sheathed it with a clang. At this moment, his dimensional points on his system panel had surged to 1,480. On that day, he killed at least 90 ghosts. Are there not a single one left on the outer perimeter? Just as Yuan was about to continue his sweep deeper into the area, the ground beneath his feet suddenly trembled violently. Bang! 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 Heavy footsteps, accompanied by an extremely strong stench, approached from the shadows ahead. Has this year's Demon Slayer Corps trials already begun? A very deep, hoarse voice rang out. Immediately afterwards, a deformed monster, as large as a small mountain of flesh, squeezed out of the forest. Its body was entirely composed of countless thick arms intertwined and pieced together, its entire body a nauseating dark green, with even its neck hidden deep within layers of arms. Those huge, bloodshot eyes stared intently at Yuan, radiating a brutal killing intent. The true overlord of Fujikase Mountain, the old monster personally captured and imprisoned by Urokodaka Seikanji for over 40 years, the Hand Demon. The Hand Demon's massive body stopped 10 meters in front of Yuan, its large eyes sizing him up. Suddenly, it let out a piercing laugh, hee hee hee. I thought some pillar had come in, but it's just a greenhorn who's not even wearing his uniform. It suddenly narrowed its eyes, as if searching for something. Hey, kid, where's your fox mask? Aren't you that old BD Urokodaka's apprentice? The Hand Demon's favorite thing to do is to torture and kill swordsmen wearing the disaster-slaying fox mask during the selection process, as a way to take revenge on Urokodaka Seikanji. However, Yuan's expression remained completely unchanged in the face of this visually striking mountain of flesh. A fox mask? There's no such thing. Yuan looked at it like it was a giant piece of non-recyclable trash. It took me a lot of time to find you. You're much better at hiding than those kids, you big piece of trash. How dare you call me trash? The Hand Demon was instantly enraged. Veins bulged on its twisted face as it roared, Arrogant brat. You have no idea what you're facing. I've already eaten 50, no, including you, the 51st. I ate 13 of Urokodaka's disciples. Including that pink-haired brat named Sabato, and that girl named Makomo. They cried so pitifully when they died, he. The hand demon attempted to break down the young man's psychological defenses with this cruel description. In the past, newcomers who heard these things would often become so angry that they lost their temper and made numerous mistakes. Unfortunately, it used the wrong object. Oh, really? Lu Yuan's voice turned cold. He had no feelings for Sabato and Makomo, but he absolutely hated it when people made such unpleasant noises in front of him. Buzz! His jet-black pupils instantly turned blood red, and 3 tomo swirled coldly within them. You're talking too much nonsense. Go to hell! With a roar, the hand demon unleashed a dozen incredibly thick green arms from its mountain-like body, completely sealing off all of Lu Yuan's escape routes from all directions and slamming down fiercely. Rumble! More than a dozen arms slammed into the ground, kicking up clouds of dust and gravel. He, you've been smashed into mincemeat, haven't you? This is what happens when you anger me. The hand demon laughed triumphantly. Where are you looking? A slightly mocking voice suddenly rang out above the hand demon's head. What? The hand ghost looked up abruptly. Before anyone knew it, Lu Yuan had leaped high into the air, hovering more than 10 meters above the ground. His crimson Sharingan, adorned with 3 tomo, was looking down at the giant eyeballs of the hand demon. The moment their eyes met, the hand ghost felt a deafening buzz in his mind. The world before my eyes changed instantly. The dense forest vanished, the dark night sky disappeared. The hand ghost found himself suddenly bound to a giant cross, the surrounding sky a strange blood red, with a pitch-black full moon hanging high overhead. Sharingan Genjutsu. While it doesn't reach the terrifying level of Tsukuyomi, which can manipulate time and space, the Genjutsu of the 3 tomo Sharingan is more than capable of crushing the soul of a demon who isn't even a lower moon. Where am I? Let me go. The hand ghost struggled frantically in the illusion, only to find itself completely unable to move. Tap, tap, tap. In the blood-red world, countless Lu Yuans wielding black long swords appeared out of thin air from all directions, looking at it with extremely cold eyes. In despair, shut up. As all the Lu Yuans swung their swords simultaneously, the hand ghost experienced the extreme pain of being slowly sliced to death hundreds of times within the illusion. Outside world. Only 1 second had passed. The once arrogant hand demon suddenly let out a blood-curdling scream, as shrill as a pig being slaughtered. Its massive body collapsed to the ground like a lump of mud, its countless arms frantically scratching at its own body, its eyes bulging out. Clearly, its spirit had been completely destroyed by the illusion. Lu Yuan remained indifferent in mid-air, then extended his right hand. Zzz. A frenzied burst of blue lightning erupted in his palm, the piercing chorus of 1,000 birds even drowning out the hand demon's screams. With the frenzied infusion of chakra, the bolt of lightning instantly lengthened, condensed, and transformed into a solidified lightning spear 5 meters long. Lightning Release, 1,000 Birds Sharp Spear. Laugh. Lu Yuan swung his arm downwards with a sudden movement, and the azure lightning spear pierced through the hand demon's layers of arm defenses without any resistance, stabbing into its neck. A flash of lightning sliced the thick neck in two without any resistance. Thump. The hand demon's enormous head rolled to the ground, and its massive body began to rapidly disintegrate and dissipate under the combined damage of Lightning Release and the Sharingan, whose spirit was broken by Genjutsu. Even as it turned to ashes, the hand demon's remaining eyeballs on the ground were still filled with endless fear of those red eyes. Ding! Host detected killing of key enemy target hand demon. This target is the greatest threat to Fujikazan Mountain. Defeating this demon will drastically alter the fate of Komatsu Tanjiro and the others who are about to enter the mountain tomorrow, and indirectly affect the storylines of Uroko no Seikanji and Tomioka-jiu. Overall rating, extremely high. Congratulations, host, you have gained 1500 dimensional points. The series of system notifications in his mind made Yuan's steps lighter as he landed. 1500 points. Sure enough, killing these elite monsters whose fates are tied to the main characters is the shortcut to getting rich. Yuan glanced at the now completely silent Tengzi Mountain and estimated that the few remaining creatures would be enough for the newcomers to practice on in 3 days. He dusted off his bathrobe, found a clean, large blue stone to sit on, and quietly waited for dawn. System, open the panel. Dimensional template system. Host, Yuan. Current template, Uchiha Sasuke, Mangekyou Sharingan era. Items in possession, Kusanagi sword, with scabbard, possesses the demon-slaying properties of a Nichiren blade, indestructible, wisteria sachet. Dimensional points, 2980 points, 970 for clearing ordinary ghosts in the mountain massacre, 1500 for killing ghosts and changing the plot, originally accumulated 510 points. Chapter 5. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. As night falls, the sea of wisteria blossoms at the foot of Tengzi Mountain glows with a faint purple light under the moonlight, isolating the entire mountain range from the outside world. More than 20 young swordsmen with different expressions gathered one after another before the steps leading into the depths of the mountains and forests. Tanjiro Kamado, carrying a wooden box and sporting dark red markings on his forehead, gripped his Nichiren blade tightly at his waist. Before setting off, Tanjiro's heavy words of advice from his trainer, Seikanji Urokadaki, still echoed in his ears, especially regarding the strange demon that specifically hunted disciples wearing the disaster-slaying fox mask, which made Tanjiro's heart heavy. I must survive, not only for Nezuko, but also to avenge Sabato and Makomo. Tanjiro gritted his teeth silently. Not far from Tanjiro, Zenitsuo Agatsuma, with blonde hair, was squatting on the ground, hugging his knees, muttering to himself with snot and tears streaming down his face, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'll definitely be eaten by demons. On the other side, Shinazugawa Jinya, with his mohawk and a fierce expression, was irritably wiping the hilt of his sword. In the corner stood a girl with a single ponytail, a gentle smile but vacant eyes, Kaneo Tsuyuri. At the top of the stairs, the 2 twin guides from the Yubayashiki family, carrying lanterns, announced the trial rules in unwavering voices. Within this vine-forged mountain, the demons captured alive by the swordsmen are imprisoned. Your mission is to survive for 7 days in this mountain forest without the protection of wisteria. Then, may you have a safe journey. With the rules announced, more than 20 newcomers, filled with either fear of death or a desire to become stronger, stepped into the dark and deep Fujikazu mountain. Tanjiro took a deep breath, maximizing his sense of smell, and stepped into the forest. We absolutely cannot let our guard down these 7 days. Although the ghosts on the outer perimeter are weak, their numbers are definitely considerable. We must maintain full concentration and focus at all times. He cautiously observed his surroundings while mentally rehearsing possible unexpected situations. However, after Tanjiro had been carefully traversing the mountains and forests for 2 full hours, he stopped. His expression changed from initial wariness to utter bewilderment. Strangeness. Tanjiro sniffed. His sense of smell was so keen that he could detect other people's emotions, but in this place known as the Den of Demons, he couldn't smell even the slightest trace of a living demon. The air was not filled with the expected smell of blood, but rather an extremely strong smell of burning, and a pungent ozone odor similar to that after a thunderstorm. There's movement ahead. Tanjiro suddenly smelled a very faint scent of human flesh. His heart tightened, thinking that his comrades had been attacked. He immediately drew his Nichiren blade and rushed towards the scent. Pushing aside a thicket of bushes, the sight before him caused Tanjiro's pupils to shrink sharply, and he froze on the spot like a wooden statue. What appeared before him was a huge fan-shaped scorched earth pit with a diameter of over 100 meters. More than a dozen towering trees, each requiring 3 people to encircle, were now all reduced to charcoal. The rocks on the ground were slightly crystallized by the terrifying heat. At the edge of this scorched earth, there were a dozen or so piles of ashes belonging to the evil spirits, which dissipated into the air with a gust of wind. What kind of breathing technique caused this damage? Tanjiro gasped. Even the most explosive technique in water breathing couldn't possibly cause such widespread burning marks, as if a natural disaster had struck. Moreover, as Tanjiro continued deeper into the area, he witnessed an even more incredible scene. Along the way, there were broken trees cut in two by extremely sharp blades, boulders shattered by lightning, and the ashes of evil spirits scattered everywhere. When he arrived at a rocky forest in the central area of Tengzi Mountain, an extremely powerful aura, which still retained a terrifying resentment even after death, made the hairs on his body stand on end. That's the lingering aura of the hand demon. Tanjiro stared blankly at the ridiculously large crater in the ground and the furrows forcibly carved out by some kind of blue lightning energy. It seems a very powerful demon was once killed instantly here. Tanjiro swallowed hard. With his incredibly sensitive nose, he could clearly smell that the person who killed the enormous creature and the person who left behind the huge fire pit were the same person. Moreover, that person's scent is right ahead, not far away. Tanjiro gripped the hilt of his sword and carefully circled around the boulder. The next second, he froze. In the center of the rocky forest, on a flat, large blue stone, sat a young man with black hair and black eyes, dressed in a black bathrobe, who was extremely handsome. A campfire was burning beside the young man, and 2 wild rabbits, caught from who knows where, were roasting on the fire, sizzling with oil. On the young man's knees lay a black straight sword with a scabbard. This art style doesn't look like someone participating in a brutal trial at all, it looks more like some rich young master has come to the mountains for a farm-style picnic. Hearing footsteps, Yuan paused slightly as he flipped the roasted rabbit, then looked up at Tanjiro, who was wearing a fox mask. "Oh? You've finally come in." Yuan greeted casually. "I've basically cleared out all the little devils in these mountains. The remaining few are hiding in some corner, too scared to come out. If you're hungry, why don't you come over and eat something together?" Tanjiro opened his mouth, but after a long pause, he managed to utter, "Excuse me, did you kill all the demons here?" "Well, I was just killing time anyway, so I came in early to warm up." Yuan pulled the wisteria sachet off his waist and fiddled with it, his tone as casual as if he had just pulled a few weeds. Just then, a series of hurried footsteps suddenly came from the woods behind them. "Ghost! Where's the ghost? Get Yura out here!" With a furious roar, Jinya Shinazugawa, sporting a mohawk and red eyes, charged forward. He wandered around the mountains for most of the night without seeing a single ghost, and his anger was simmering. Upon seeing the flames ahead, they immediately rushed over. When he saw Yuan sitting on the blue stone grilling meat, and Tanjiro standing next to him in a daze, Jinya was immediately furious. "Hey! What are you two bastards doing here? On a picnic?" Jinya strode forward, grabbed Tanjiro by the collar, and glared fiercely at Yuan, "Where are the demons here? I came here to kill demons and become a pillar. Tell me where the demons are, or I'll beat you all up too." Tanjiro, being an honest man, quickly explained, This gentleman said that he has killed all the demons in the mountains." "Hey? Do you think I'm an idiot?" Jinya released Tanjiro, his gaze fixed menacingly on Yuan. Looking at Yuan's leisurely and complacent demeanor, he felt deeply insulted. This pretty boy-looking guy? He's going to wipe out all the ghosts on this mountain. Suanmi sneered and reached out to grab Yuan's collar. "Stop playing tricks on me. Tell me where the ghost is hiding." However, before his hand could even touch Yuan's clothes, his voice abruptly stopped. Because Lu Yuan, who was sitting on the blue stone, turned his head slightly and glanced at him. Just one glance. Buzz. Those eyes, which were originally pitch black and deep, instantly turned into an eerie scarlet color, with 3 black tomos spinning coldly in their pupils. Boom! The moment Suanmi made contact with those eyes, the scene before him completely changed. The campfire disappeared, Tanjiro disappeared, and the entire Fujikazan mountain disappeared. He found himself standing alone on the edge of an abyss, with a blood-red moon overhead. The black-haired youth sitting on the blue stone had somehow transformed into a god overlooking the heavens and earth, gazing at him with an extremely indifferent look. Under that terrifying killing intent and mental pressure that felt almost tangible, Suanmi felt as if his heart was being squeezed tightly by an invisible hand, and even his breathing stopped. Thump! Under Tanjiro's horrified gaze, Jinya, who had just been arrogant and domineering, suddenly recoiled as if electrocuted, his legs went weak, and he knelt directly in front of Lu Yuan. Large beads of cold sweat rolled down Suanmi's forehead. He gasped for breath, his whole body trembling uncontrollably. Just one look. And this hot-tempered tough guy experienced the fear of being almost killed. If you yell again, I'll throw you off the mountain. The Sharingan in Lu Yuan's eyes faded, and his tone remained calm and undisturbed. He tore off a roasted rabbit leg, not even bothering to glance at Suanmi kneeling on the ground again. If it weren't for the fact that Genmai wasn't inherently bad in the original story and was actually quite pitiful, that glance just now wouldn't have been just a simple intimidation with murderous intent, it would have directly turned his brain into mush with illusion magic. Not far away, in the treetop, Kaneo Kurikawa, who had been quietly following and observing, gripped the hilt of her sword tightly. For the first time ever, a hint of shock flashed in her usually calm purple eyes. She didn't even see how Lu Yuan made his move. Ding! Detected that the host has significantly shocked the main characters Tanjiro Kamado, Jinya Shinazugawa, and Kaneo Tsuyuri. Dimensional points gained, 600. The next 7 days will be an unprecedented magical time for all the newcomers who have participated in the Fujikazan mountain trial. There was no fierce fighting, no desperate escape. Because all the evil spirits were wiped out long before the trial even began by a cheat-like player with Sharingan and unleashing ninjutsu. Occasionally, a few mischievous little devils who had escaped from hiding underground would surface, but Tanjiro and Kaneo would easily take care of them. As for Zenitsuo Agatsuma, after realizing that following Lu Yuan was absolutely safe, this guy immediately transformed into a lackey, helping Lu Yuan gather firewood and catch wild game every day, calling him Big Brother more affectionately than anyone else. 7 days were spent in this bizarre atmosphere of wilderness survival and picnic and camping. On the morning of the 7th day, when the sunlight once again bathed the wisteria grove surrounding Tengzi Mountain, the 2 twin guides from the Yubayashiki family, standing in front of the Torii gate, finally couldn't keep their perpetually poker faces up. In the past, surviving 5 or 6 people was considered a great success in the final trial, but this time, 22 people actually made it out alive. Moreover, they were all glowing with health. Not only were they uninjured, but Zenitsuo Agatsuma had even gained 2 pounds. This doesn't look like a near-death experience, it looks like they just got back from a mountain vacation. Congratulations everyone on your safe return. The white-haired loli suppressed her inner shock and began the procedure. Next, please choose the Tamahagane, metal, you will use to forge your Nichiren blades. However, everyone remained still, and instead turned their gazes to Lu Yuan, who was standing at the back of the crowd, yawning listlessly. Everyone knew perfectly well that they were able to escape alive entirely because this killing machine had cleared the area beforehand. Lu Yuan didn't stand on ceremony and went straight to the table where the ore was displayed. He possesses the Kusanagi sword, which has the inherent characteristics of a Nichiren blade, so he doesn't actually need to forge a new sword. However, he needs his identity as a Demon Slayer Corps member and the Kasugai crow he uses for communication. After casually picking up a piece of raw jadeite ore that gleamed with a cold light, a jet-black crow suddenly fluttered down from above Lu Yuan's head. Ga! Ga! Lu Yuan! Monster! Lu Yuan! Monster! As soon as the hawk landed, it started yelling and shouting in its hoarse voice. Clearly, this crow witnessed Lu Yuan's massacre in the mountains over the past few days from above. Lu Yuan raised an eyebrow and lightly flicked the raven's head with his finger. Shut up, or I'll roast you tonight. The raven instantly shut its beak like a duck being choked, cawing, and even tucking its wings in. Ding! Congratulations, host, for completely overturning the outcome of this year's final trial, saving a large number of cannon fodder swordsmen who were originally destined to die. This has significantly impacted the future strength of the Demon Slayer Corps. Gain 2,000 dimensional points. Hearing the generous income notification in his mind, Lu Yuan smiled with satisfaction. With nearly 3,000 points in hand, it's clear that following the storyline to maximize profits is the key. Once we get the team uniform, it's time to make contact with the pillars, and maybe even Muzan Kibutsuji. Chapter 6. The morning sun pierced through the thin morning mist and shone on the huge torii gate at the foot of Mount Fujikasa. With the final selection officially concluded, the 22 surviving swordsmen each received a Kasugai crow for communication and Tamahagane for forging their Nichiren blades, preparing to embark on their journey home. Mr. Lu Yuan. Tanjiro Kamado, carrying a heavy wooden box, suddenly strode up behind Riku, who was about to leave, and bowed deeply. His forehead almost touched his knees, and his tone was filled with undisguised gratitude and awe. Thank you so much. Tanjiro is an honest man, and his sense of smell is far beyond that of ordinary people. As he entered the rocky forest deep within Tengzi Mountain, he not only smelled the unfathomable aura emanating from Lu Yuan, but also the terrifying resentment lingering from the giant evil spirit that had been struck to ashes by lightning. Even the lingering scent made Tanjiro feel suffocated. He couldn't even imagine what a brutal one-sided massacre would have occurred if Lu Yuan hadn't killed that enormous creature with countless arms that had lived for who knows how many years beforehand, and if they, a group of newcomers who hadn't even fully mastered concentrated breathing, had encountered it. His master, Urokodaka Seikanji, once told him that there were extremely dangerous demons in the mountains. Tanjiro was certain that the giant mutated demon that Lu Yuan had slain was definitely the most terrifying being in this mountain. If you hadn't cleared out that monster and most of the evil spirits in the mountains beforehand, most of us probably wouldn't have made it out alive. I, Tanjiro Kamado, will never forget this kindness. Upon hearing Tanjiro's words, Shinazugawa Jinya, who had a mohawk, snorted coldly. Although he didn't speak, the arrogance he had shown 7 days ago was completely gone from his eyes when he looked at Lu Yuan, only deep fear remained. He never wants to experience that terrifying illusion that nearly shattered his soul again in his life. As for Zenitsuo Agatsuma, if Tanjiro hadn't been holding him tightly by the back of his collar, he probably would have already rushed up and hugged Rikuo's leg, crying and begging to be his underling. No need for thanks. I kill ghosts just, to pass the time. Lu Yuan turned around and looked at this stubborn head pillar. If you really want to thank me, remember to leave your head for me if you encounter anything of the 12 ghost moons caliber in the future. After leaving behind a cryptic remark, Lu Yuan didn't linger any longer. Chakra instantly gathered at the soles of his feet and exploded. Bang! With a muffled blast, the ground beneath Lu Yuan's feet cracked inch by inch. He leaped into the air in an instant, leaving a black afterimage in mid-air, and disappeared into the vast forest in the blink of an eye. So fast! I can't even see the afterimage. What kind of breathing technique is that? Tanjiro stared in shock, his eyes wide, gripping the hilt of his sword tightly. Standing at the back of the crowd, Kaneo Tsuyuri silently watched the direction Lu Yuan left in. For the first time ever, her usually calm purple eyes flashed with an unusual light. She gripped the jade steel in her hand, a symbol of passing the trial, and turned to walk in another direction. Meanwhile, hundreds of kilometers away from Mount Fujikazan, at the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters, the Yubayashiki mansion. The atmosphere in the quiet courtyard was so oppressive that you could hear a pin drop. The current head of the Demon Slayer Corps, Kaguya Yubayashiki, is sitting in the main seat of the Japanese-style room. His face, covered in purple curse marks, now displayed a rare expression of utter astonishment mixed with surprise. On the tatami mat in front of him, two pillars wearing haori, traditional Japanese clothing, were kneeling. Shinobu Koko, the insect pillar. Water column Tomioka Jiyu. In the center of the Japanese-style room, two Kajiri crows, who had just risked their lives to fly back from Fujikazeyama, were flapping their wings and reporting the bizarre results of this final trial in extremely sharp, even somewhat broken voices. Ga! Annihilated! Annihilated! The Fujikazan mountain demon was wiped out by a single person. 22 people survived. Unprecedented. Ga! Monster! The monster named Yuan. Fire! Thunder! That giant mutated demon with dozens of arms, who had lived for over 40 years, was shredded to dust by his bare hands with lightning. Vanished into thin air. Kak kak. Listening to Kasugai's incoherent report, even Tomioka Jiyu, who was usually expressionless and seemed indifferent to everything, suddenly narrowed his deep blue eyes, which were as still as dead water. A mutant demon with dozens of arms, who has lived for over 40 years. Jiyu Tomioka muttered to himself. In that brutal selection process, he was attacked by a demon right from the start and was seriously injured and fell into a coma. When he woke up, the selection was over, but his senior brother, Chien Tu, whose talent far surpassed his and who shone like the sun, remained forever in that mountain. He had never seen the killer of Sabato with his own eyes, nor did he know about the special hatred between that demon and the breeder Urokodaka Seikanji. All he knew was that the one who should have survived was the Sakunashuk, and he himself was not worthy of becoming the water pillar. This heavy sense of guilt weighed on him for 7 whole years. Kaguya Yubayashiki's blind eyes curved slightly. Although he couldn't see, his mind was extremely clear, and his memory was astonishingly good. With dozens of arms, for over 40 years. Kaguya coughed lightly, his gentle voice tinged with emotion. Jiyu, do you remember Lord Urokodaka's report from years ago? During the Edo period, he personally captured a man-eating monster and imprisoned it on Mount Fujikaze. It's been over 40 years. To have avoided the poison of the wisteria blossoms for 40 years, and to have consumed countless swordsmen to grow into that enormous, deformed form, if I'm not mistaken, those 13 children Lord Urokodaka sent to participate in the selections over the years, including Sabato and Makomo, all perished at the hands of this monster. Boom! Kaguya Yubayashiki's gentle words, however, struck Yoshiyuki Tomioka like a thunderbolt. He had always believed that Sakitama died from exhaustion while constantly fighting against various evil spirits in order to protect the weak like them. Only today did he learn from his lord's deduction that the one who killed Sabato back then was actually that terrifying alien demon that had lived for over 40 years and specialized in hunting Urokodaka disciples. And now, that enormous nightmare lurking in Tengzi Mountain, which didn't even qualify him to take revenge himself, has been crushed to ashes by a newcomer named Yuan. Yoshiyuki Tomioka lowered his head sharply, clenching his teeth. Although he was still forcibly suppressing his expression, his slightly trembling shoulders and his fists clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white completely betrayed the turbulent emotions churning within him. Kyuntu. He silently murmured that name in his heart. The boulder that had weighed on his heart for 7 years, making it almost impossible for him to breathe, finally showed a crack at this moment. He didn't know who Yuan was, but he was very clear that Yuan's killing of the alien demon not only avenged Sabato but also prevented more innocent deaths of water-breathing disciples in the future. My lord! Jiyu Tomioka abruptly raised his head, his tone extremely solemn and resolute. whoever this person named Rikan is, I, Gyutomyoka, will forever remember this kindness. If he joins the Demon Slayer Corps, I will do everything in my power to assist him. Shinobu Kocho, who was standing to the side, was also somewhat surprised, but she quickly revealed her signature gentle smile. She turned to Yubayashiki Kaguya and reported softly, "My lord, the Rikugen that this raven mentioned is the mysterious young man I reported to you about a few days ago. He didn't use any breathing techniques we know, yet he could unleash lightning with his bare hands, instantly annihilating demon cells. I thought he was just exceptionally strong, but I never expected, he actually used Fujikazan Mountain as a training ground. Very good." A long-lost flush appeared on Kaguya Yubayashiki's pale face. 15 days later, after his Nichiren blade is forged, let's convene the Pillars meeting. I really want to see this one in person, perhaps he can help us finally end Muzan's miracle. Ding! The host's victory over the Hand Demon has been reported to Demon Slayer Corps headquarters. Water Pillar Gyutomyoka learns the truth of what happened back then from his master's deductions, feeling extremely grateful and shocked towards his host, and his inner conflict begins to loosen. When the main character, Kaguya Yubayashiki, sees the host as the key to breaking the deadlock, the plot takes a major turn. Congratulations, host, you have gained 3,000 dimensional points. Achoo! At this moment, Lu Yuan, who had already arrived at a secluded mountain area in Tokyo Prefecture, inexplicably sneezed. Who's talking about me? Oh well, just made 3,000 points, this is a huge profit. Lu Yuan stopped, released the chakra attached to the solace of his feet, and landed steadily on the ground. Looking at the dimensional points that had surpassed 8,000 on the system panel, I was in a great mood. Looking up, not far ahead, a vast estate, expansive in traditional Japanese style, stands quietly in the sunlight. The manor's walls are carved with exquisite butterfly patterns, and the courtyard is filled with various plants that exude a unique medicinal fragrance. This is the Demon Slayer Corps' medical support base, the Butterfly Mansion. Lu Yuan didn't climb over the wall. Instead, he walked to the front door like a normal guest and knocked on the door knocker. Creak! The door was opened a crack, and a girl with pigtails, wearing a nurse's uniform, and a somewhat serious expression peeked out. Kanzaki Aoi. May I ask who you are? This is the Demon Slayer Corps' exclusive medical facility. You cannot enter without being injured or without a uniform to prove your identity. Kanzaki Aoi sized up the handsome young man in civilian clothes carrying a black sword, her tone very efficient. Can't I come if I'm not injured? Lu Yuan smiled, not annoyed. Your master, Shinobu Kocho, invited me. Go and inform them that Lu Yuan has arrived. Invited by Lord Shinobu. Kanzaki Aoi paused for a moment, then looked at Lu Yuan with suspicion. Although Lord Shinobu is usually all smiles, he almost never brings unfamiliar young men back to the Butterfly Mansion except for official business. Who exactly is this guy who doesn't even have a Demon Slayer Corps uniform? Just as Kanzaki Aoi was hesitating whether to go and check first, a light and melodious voice suddenly came from above Lu Yuan's head. Oh my, Mr. Lu Yuan, you're really fast. I sent the message back by carrier pigeon first, yet you arrived before my messenger. Accompanied by a fragrant breeze, Shinobu Kocho, draped in a butterfly feather kimono, gracefully leaped down from the tower inside the manor like a falling leaf, landing steadily in front of Lu Yuan. Shinobu-sama. Kanzaki Aoi quickly bowed her head in greeting. Thank you for your hard work, Xiao Kui. This is a distinguished guest I specially invited. Prepare the best room and some sumptuous food. Kocho Shinobu turned and instructed, then looked intently at Lu Yuan. A distinguished guest. Kanzaki Aoi's eyes widened. This was the first time she had ever heard Shinobu-sama use that word to describe a man her age. All right, stop standing at the door like a greeter. Lu Yuan casually tossed aside the noisy raven perched on his shoulder, strode into the courtyard of the butterfly house, as comfortable as if he were back in his own home. I'll be staying here for 15 days until my Nichiren blade and team uniform arrive. I'll be relying on you, my generous benefactor, for my food and lodging during this time. Yuan spoke very casually, completely disregarding Shinobu Kocho, who was a pillar, as some high and mighty figure. This carefree and easygoing attitude only deepened Shinobu's smile. It's an honor for us to have a monster who single-handedly slaughtered Teng Zishan living in the butterfly mansion. Shinobu Kocho walked beside Rikuo, lowering her voice to a volume only the two of them could hear. Our Lord has just given orders that he wishes to meet you personally at the Pillar Council meeting in 15 days. The Pillars meeting? Yuan raised an eyebrow. According to the original work, the Pillar meeting was usually held once every 6 months, or only when there was a major event. How could a newcomer like myself, who hasn't even worn the team uniform yet, be qualified to attend such a high-level meeting? That's right, and the Lord seems very interested in your ability to kill demons without a Nichiren blade. When that happens, the other pillars won't be as easy to talk to as I am. The more hot-tempered ones will likely test you. Shinobu Kocho reminded him with a smile, seemingly looking forward to seeing Yuan humiliated. Testing me? Yuan paused, turned his head, and 3 scarlet tomo appeared unexpectedly in his dark eyes. A sharp, oppressive aura that sent chills down Shinobu Kocho's spine instantly flashed by, almost tangible. Then they'd better buy some liniment for sprains and bruises beforehand. I wouldn't mind giving these so-called strongest swordsmen a few free physical training lessons on their very first day in the team. Leaving behind this extremely arrogant statement, Yuan headed straight for the guest rooms, leaving Shinobu Kocho standing there stunned for a full 2 seconds before she couldn't help but cover her mouth and chuckle. What an arrogant yet charming guy. At the same time, Kaneo Tsuyuri, who had just arrived at the gate of the butterfly mansion and was preparing to hand over her mission, happened to witness this scene. She stared blankly at Yuan's tall and slender back, then at her master's smile, which held a strange undertone, and clenched the coin in her hand. Chapter 7. In the early morning, the air around the butterfly house is filled with the faint scent of herbs and the fragrance of wisteria blossoms. 3 days have passed since Yuan moved into this top-level medical and logistical base of the Demon Slayer Corps. For the past 3 days, his daily routine has been outrageously regular, eating, sleeping, occasionally finding a secluded corner in the backyard to increase his skill proficiency, and spending the rest of his time sunbathing on the porch. Ugh! You! How much more do you want to eat? In the dining room, Kanzaki Aoi, with her hair in pigtails, was holding an empty wooden bucket the size of a wash basin, looking at Yuan sitting opposite her with a completely distraught expression. Another bowl, please, with extra bonito flakes, thank you, Yuan said casually, putting down the 7th empty bowl that was already stacked high in his hand. After fusing with Uchiha Sasuke's template, although the amount of chakra in his body was enormous, the refinement of chakra required an extremely large amount of physical energy as support. To put it simply, his current appetite is basically equivalent to that of 3 strong adult men. You think this is a refugee camp? Lord Shinobu clearly said you were a distinguished guest, but what kind of distinguished guest looks like a starving ghost reincarnated? Xiao Kui complained angrily, but her body betrayed her as she turned and walked towards the kitchen to get her 8th bowl of rice. Beside him, the 3 little lowly caregivers from the butterfly mansion Kyoji Teraki, Sumi Nakahara and Nao Takada were hiding behind a doorpost, blinking their big eyes and peeking at this handsome but extremely gluttonous older brother as if he were an alien. After eating and drinking his fill, Yuan, carrying a cup of hot tea, leisurely strolled to the backyard of the butterfly house. Sunlight filters through the lush canopy, casting dappled shadows. Under a corridor not far away, Kaneo Tsuyuri, with her hair tied in a single ponytail, sat quietly on the wooden floor. She held a specially made copper coin in her hand, her calm purple eyes gazing at the sky, lost in thought. Suddenly, Kaneo seemed to sense Liu Yuan's approach. She glanced down at Liu Yuan, then looked at her empty space beside her, seemingly hesitant to say hello. A light flick of the thumb. Ding! The copper coin tumbled and leaped into the air, tracing a graceful parabola. She was used to using a coin toss to decide on choices she couldn't make herself. Greet them if they're facing you, ignore them if they're facing you from the opposite direction. However, before the coin could fall back into her palm, a long, strong hand suddenly reached out from the side, and 2 fingers precisely caught the rapidly spinning coin in mid-air. Kaneo's perpetually blank expression finally showed a hint of surprise. Isn't it a bit too casual to hand over your will to a cold copper coin? Liu Yuan casually pulled over a small wooden stool and sat down opposite Kaneo. He twirled the coin between his fingertips twice, then flicked it, and the coin landed steadily on Kaneo's skirt. The human heart can constantly grow. If you don't want to talk, then don't. If you want to daydream, then daydream. If even something as small as whether or not to greet someone has to be decided by a coin, wouldn't life be too boring? Liu Yuan picked up his teacup and took a sip, completely ignoring whether Kaneo responded, and simply said to himself, "You have excellent talent in your eyes, superb dynamic vision, a good prospect for swordsmanship. Don't waste your energy on this pointless coin-flipping game." After saying these words, Liu Yuan stood up and walked towards the medical room without looking back. Kaneo stared blankly at the coin on her skirt, then looked up at Liu Yuan's casual and carefree back. For some reason, the man's casual words just now were like a pebble that suddenly struck her stagnant heart, creating ripples that could not be calmed. She slowly reached out and clenched the coin in her palm. In the depths of her empty eyes, something seemed to be quietly breaking through the soil. Ding! The host's casual remark touched Kaneo Tsuyuri's closed-off heart, planting a seed that would change her destiny. 300 dimensional points awarded. Butterfly House, a high-class medical room. As soon as the door was opened, a strong smell of disinfectant mixed with wisteria blossoms wafted out. Shinobu Coco was wearing a white medical coat over a black Demon Slayer Corps uniform. She was standing in front of a workbench filled with various glasswares and test tubes, intently preparing a pale purple liquid. Hearing footsteps, Shinobu turned around, her face immediately breaking into her signature gentle smile. "Oh, Mr. Liu Yuan, have you had breakfast yet? Xiao Kui was just complaining to me that you're going to eat up a week's worth of food for the Butterfly House. There's no way around it, it's very taxing." Liu Yuan pulled up a chair and sat down without any hesitation. "Xiao Kui told me you wanted to see me about something." "Yes." Shinobu Coco put down the test tube in her hand, walked up to Liu Yuan, and looked at him with a smile. "I'm really curious about that power you call chakra. Not only does it give you the physical ability to crush demons, but it also allows you to unleash lightning. As the medical director of the Butterfly Mansion, may I give you a little physical examination?" As she uttered those words, a fervent desire for research gleamed in Shinobu Coco's deep purple eyes. If this power could be deciphered, perhaps a more potent poison could be developed, and it might even grant ordinary swordsman power comparable to the lower moon or upper moon. "The examination is fine." Liu Yuan readily extended his right hand, rolled up his sleeve to reveal a strong, well-proportioned forearm, "but let me make it clear beforehand, no blood tests, no biopsies, only pulse diagnosis and routine examinations." "How stingy! Can't you even have just one small tube?" Shinobu Coco complained, but her body moved closer. She extended her cool, slender fingers and gently placed them on Liu Yuan's wrist to feel his pulse. The moment her fingertips touched Liu Yuan's skin, Shinobu Coco raised an eyebrow slightly. "What a strong pulse! Calm and steady, yet it contains a terrifying vitality, like a dormant volcano." She could even faintly sense that an extremely large and completely different kind of energy, unlike the breathing techniques that forcibly squeezed the body, was flowing through Liu Yuan's meridians. "This is incredible." Shinobu Kocho couldn't help but move even closer. The two were extremely close at this moment. Yuan could even clearly smell the calming fragrance of wisteria in her hair and see her thick eyelashes trembling slightly with surprise. Your physical condition is even more incredible than those who train year-round. This energy is constantly nourishing your cells. Shinobu Kocho exclaimed, raising her head with her gentle smile still on her face. Mr. Yuan, if we were to dissect you, it might advance human medicine by 50 years. This seemingly joking yet subtly witty remark would have given most people goosebumps. But Yuan simply looked at her quietly, his eyes calm. Buzz. Without warning, Yuan's originally dark eyes instantly turned into an eerie crimson, with 3 tomo spinning rapidly in his pupils. At such close range, Shinobu Kocho was directly confronted by the Sharingan's gaze. The smile on her face froze abruptly. She instinctively tried to back away, but found that Yuan grabbed her wrist and pulled her back to where she was. What do you want to do? Shinobu's voice finally betrayed a hint of panic. The oppressive feeling emanating from those red eyes was too strong, as if they could see right through her soul. Don't be nervous, I just want to see it more clearly. Yuan leaned forward slightly, his scarlet Sharingan staring directly into Shinobu Kocho's eyes, his gaze as if he were examining a piece of porcelain riddled with cracks. With the Sharingan's microscopic insight, Yuan noticed the extremely subtle tension in Shinobu Kocho's facial muscles, the suppressed anger in her breathing, and even her deliberately feigned gentle voice. Shinobu Kocho. Yuan's voice was unusually serious as he spoke, each word distinct. Don't you find it tiring to live with this mask on? Boom. This sentence caused a huge emotional upheaval in Shinobu Kocho. The smile on her lips froze instantly, her pupils contracted slightly involuntarily, and the fingers that were resting on Yuan's wrist clenched tightly. I don't understand what you're saying. I'm always like this. Stop pretending. Yuan interrupted her mercilessly, his gaze extremely aggressive. Before my eyes, all your pretenses are exposed. The muscle memory in your muscles, the rage and murderous intent deep in your eyes, all tell me that you are not as gentle as you appear. Your smile right now, the tone of your voice, aren't you imitating someone else? A loved one who was extremely important to you, but who has already been killed by a ghost. Click. The glass of disguise in Shinobu's heart shattered under Yuan's spoiler-like blow. Her breathing quickened instantly, and tears welled up uncontrollably in her eyes, but what followed was an intense, suppressed anger and pain. Shut up! Shinobu's voice trembled slightly, and her usually smiling face finally darkened completely. You know nothing. What makes you think you can? I really don't understand what kind of person your sister is. Yuan released her wrist, the Sharingan in his eyes fading, revealing his gentle black pupils again. He reached out and, to Shinobu's utter astonishment, made an extremely bold move, gently ruffling her long black hair that was coiled at the back of her head. But I know one thing. A girl who forces herself to smile all the time can't wield a truly deadly knife. Yuan looked at Shinobu Kocho, who stood frozen in place, and softened his tone. If you're angry, then be angry. If you want to kill demons, then show your killing intent. Imitating the gentleness of the dead is pointless, it only tortures yourself. I don't care how you pretend in front of others, but in front of me. Yuan smiled at her, you can be the real Shinobu Kocho to your heart's content. As for that upper moon demon you couldn't kill, I'll cut it down for you as a way of repaying your hospitality these past few days. Quiet. The entire medical room was deathly quiet. Shinobu Kocho stared blankly at the arrogant, domineering, yet inexplicably reassuring young man before her. For several years now, ever since her older sister Kane died, she has forced herself to wear a mask of gentleness, suppressing her true nature to be tolerant of everyone, to develop poison, and to take her sister's place as a pillar. No one, not even our Lord, has ever so forcefully and gently torn away her facade like Lu Yuan, telling her, "You can be yourself again. I'll hold the sky up if it falls." A scalding tear uncontrollably slid down the corner of her eye. But soon, Shinobu Coco abruptly turned her head, raised her sleeve, and forcefully wiped the corner of her eye. When she turned back to look at Lu Yuan again, although her eyes were still slightly red, the fake, mask-like smile on her lips had disappeared. Instead, she adopted a demeanor that reflected her original personality, tinged with arrogance and a sharp, cold laugh. "What an arrogant fool!" Shinobu Coco snorted coldly, her tone no longer ethereal and gentle, but reverting to its original clear and crisp voice. "The terror of the upper moon demons is beyond your imagination. However, if you can avoid being beaten down by those hot-tempered guys at the Pillar Conference in 15 days, I'll reluctantly admit you were exaggerating." Seeing Shinobu Coco's somewhat gritted teeth yet vivid and lively appearance after she removed her disguise, Lu Yuan smiled with satisfaction. "This is the real poison tongue insect pillar." Ding! The host has forcefully broken down the psychological defenses of the key figure, Shinobu Coco, successfully causing her to drop her pretense and reveal her true self to the host. Shinobu's affection level has increased. Major breakthrough in the conquest progress. Congratulations, host, you have gained 1,200 dimensional points. The Central Conference. Lu Yuan stood up and slowly stretched his limbs. "I'm looking forward to seeing how those guys perform." Chapter 8. The door to the medical room closed gently, and Lu Yuan's footsteps faded into the distance down the corridor. In the huge room, only Shinobu Coco remained, standing there blankly. She subconsciously raised her hand and touched the hair that Lu Yuan had just ruffled. It seemed that the man's warm body temperature still lingered there. He said, "I can finally be my true self again." Shinobu Coco murmured to herself, her heart pounding faster than ever before. In recent years, she has held herself to extremely high standards, forcing herself to always keep a smile on her face and to treat every swordsman with the same gentleness as her older sister, Kane. Over time, even she herself almost forgot that the original Shinobu Coco was a girl with a somewhat impatient temper, who spoke without restraint and was very competitive. However, they had only known this man named Lu Yuan for a few days. How could he know about his sister? How could he know that he was imitating his sister? He was even fully aware of the suppressed rage within himself and the deep-seated hatred he harbored for the upper moon demons. Shinobu Coco leaned against the control panel, a suspicious blush suddenly rising on her fair cheeks, her mind starting to race uncontrollably. He only just got the harpoon, he has no intelligence network whatsoever. Besides, he's so strong, he could even instantly kill the alien demon from Fujikashiyama. How could such a proud and arrogant powerhouse waste his energy on trivial gossip? The only explanation is, he was already secretly investigating me relentlessly before he came to the Butterfly Mansion, even before he met me at Fujikazaniyama. Shinobu Coco abruptly covered her burning cheeks, a flicker of panic and embarrassment flashing in her purple eyes. Absolutely. He must have used some means to thoroughly investigate his past, the cause of his sister's death, and even his usual pretense of personality. Otherwise, how could he have so accurately breached his own defenses? Otherwise, why would he suddenly utter such an arrogant yet fiercely protective statement as, "I'll cut down that upper moon demon for you"? Going to such lengths to understand a girl's bloody past, even at the risk of angering me, just to forcibly pull me out of my sister's shadow. Butterfly bit her lower lip, a hint of coquettishness appearing in her usually cool eyes. This idiot, if he's interested in me, he should just say so. Why does he have to use such a rough and domineering method? What an arrogant and conceited fellow! Although she was cursing, a strange warmth unexpectedly welled up in Shinobu's heart, which had been shrouded in hatred and coldness for many years. Just then, the door to the medical room was pushed open. Kaneo Tsuyuri leaned halfway in, intending to get the gauze, but saw Shinobu Coco standing there, covering her bright red cheek. Shinobu-nichan, do you have a fever? Kaneo rarely spoke up, and she didn't even flip a coin. Hey? No, no. The butterfly was startled and quickly stood up straight. She instinctively tried to put on her signature gentle smile, but the image of Lu Yuan's all-seeing crimson eyes and his words, "Stop pretending," suddenly flashed through her mind. The muscles in her face twitched slightly, and Shinobu Coco finally gave up that forced, fake smile. She sighed, her eyes regaining their clarity and sharpness. She walked up to Kaneo, reached out to straighten her collar, and said in her usual clear and capable voice, "I'm fine, I just got annoyed by some arrogant guy. The gauze is in the second cabinet, help yourself." Kaneo was stunned to hear this genuine voice, so different from her usual ethereal tone, and instead full of vitality. Looking at her master's lifelike expression, which was no longer like a mannequin, she subconsciously tightened her grip on the coin in her pocket. That man named Lu Yuan not only interfered with his own coin, but he even managed to remove Sister Ren's mask. Over the next few days, some extremely subtle changes occurred in the daily routine of the Butterfly Mansion. First is the training ground in the backyard. Whoosh! 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 With 3 extremely short whooshing sounds, 3 ordinary pebbles picked up casually from the ground drew 3 strange arcs in mid-air, not only bypassing the tree trunks but also hitting the bullseye of 3 hanging wooden targets 10 meters away with perfect accuracy. Wow! That's amazing! The stone can actually bend. Lord Lu Yuan is so handsome. 3 little girls, Kiyoshi Teraki, Sumi Nakahara, and Nao Takada, were squatting in the corridor, their eyes sparkling, clapping enthusiastically. Even Kanzaki Aoi, who was passing by carrying a wash basin, couldn't help but stop and stare at her. Just a unique throwing technique, nothing special. Lu Yuan dusted off his hands and stretched lazily. Just then, a soft footstep sound came from behind. "You certainly have plenty of leisure time, using my butterfly house to ingratiate yourself with young girls. Cool, straightforward, with an undisguised sharp tongue and teasing." Lu Yuan turned around and saw Shinobu Coco carrying a tray with a pot of hot tea and several plates of delicate tea snacks on it. Today, Shinobu Coco didn't wear that chilling fake smile. Her eyes were bright and sharp, her eyebrows slightly raised, and she was like a sharp dagger that had been sheathed, exuding an air of arrogance and vitality. Looking at her like this, Lu Yuan nodded in satisfaction, "Not bad, this style is much more pleasing to the eye. Instead of acting like a big sister all day long, you'll have a better future as a short-tempered, sharp-tongued little girl." "Who are you calling this, you grumpy, sharp-tongued little girl?" Shinobu Coco's forehead instantly contorted with anger as she slammed the tray down heavily on the wooden floor of the corridor, spilling a few drops of tea. "If you weren't a guest, I would definitely put a lethal dose of poison in your tea." She snorted coldly and sat down next to Lu Yuan. "Drink up. You've been so bored these past few days, lest you complain that our butterfly house hasn't been hospitable enough." Lu Yuan unceremoniously picked up his teacup and drank it all in one gulp, then casually picked up a pastry and stuffed it into his mouth. Seeing Lu Yuan's unguarded state, Shinobu's gaze softened slightly, but her words remained sharp. "You're really not afraid I'll poison you, are you? Speaking of which, you went to so much trouble to secretly investigate my past. Now that I've dropped my disguise, aren't you quite smug? Secretly investigating you?" Lu Yuan paused in his snacking, his face full of questions. "When did I investigate you? I just knew what you were thinking with a glance." Upon hearing this, Shinobu Coco not only didn't believe it, but became even more certain of her guess. "Humph, still won't admit it. Stubborn as a mule." Shinobu turned her head away, a blush creeping up her fair ears. "However, this won't happen again. My past isn't an interesting story." Looking at Shinobu Coco's inexplicably shy profile, Lu Yuan didn't know how this sharp-tongued butterfly's thought process had turned around, but judging from her posture, she was obviously taking his little bit of spoiler as proof of her secret crush on her. Lu Yuan didn't expose him, but simply chuckled, "Fine, as long as you don't fake a smile in front of me again, I'll see it through to the end." Who asked you to tell me what to do? You arrogant BD. Shinobu Kocho stood up abruptly like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, forgetting even to take her tray, and walked away quickly with a flushed face. Watching her slightly flustered figure disappear into the distance, Lu Yuan shook his head helplessly. Self-deception is the most fatal flaw. Ding! Detected that the key figure Shinobu Kocho has developed an extremely deep self-deception towards the host, greatly increasing her affection level. Gained 800 dimensional points. You can get points for this? System, your judgment mechanism is quite humane. Lu Yuan was in a good mood, picked up the teapot and blew directly into it. Leisurely days always fly by. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 days have passed since Lu Yuan moved into the butterfly house. Tomorrow is a special plutonium meeting personally convened by Kaguya Yubayashiki. Today is also the day Lu Yuan's Nichiren blade and team uniform are delivered. It was almost noon. A strange man wearing a comical fire mask, with wind chimes tied to his head, carrying 2 long, rectangular cloth bags, strode menacingly through the gates of the butterfly mansion. Where is that BD Lu Yuan? He actually dared to make me, Hideaki Hotaru, personally deliver your sword. Get out here and greet your blade. With an extremely arrogant roar, Hotaru Hagenjika, a notorious troublemaker from the sword-forging village and one of the most skilled swordsmiths, swaggered in. Hearing the commotion, Lu Yuan came out from the backyard. Shinobu Kocho and several little girls followed curiously behind. You're Lu Yuan. Hotaru Hideaki pointed at Lu Yuan, her tone extremely arrogant. Listen up. This sword is a masterpiece I forged over 10 days and 10 nights without sleep, using that top-grade jade steel you brought back. If you dare break it in battle, I'll come and chop you up with a kitchen knife in the middle of the night. You talk too much nonsense. Lu Yuan ignored the sword fanatic's roar, walked straight forward, and ripped open the cloth bag. Inside, there was not only a black Demon Slayer Corps uniform, but also a brand new Nichiren blade with its sheath still attached. Because Lu Yuan was used to the feel of the Kusanagi sword, this Nichiren blade was not made with the traditional curved shape of a samurai sword. Instead, it was made into an extremely straight sword according to his requirements. Draw it quickly. The Nichiren blade is also called the color-changing blade. It changes color according to the user's characteristics. Hotaru Hagenjika excitedly leaned closer, staring intently at the hilt. Let me see what color you are. Even Shinobu Kocho, standing nearby, looked on with curiosity. As far as she knew, Lu Yuan hadn't used any known breathing techniques, so what color would his sword turn? Lu Yuan gripped the hilt of the knife and suddenly exerted force with his wrist. Zhang! A crisp sound of a sword being drawn rang out. The snow-white blade gleamed with a chilling light in the sunlight. Immediately afterward, when Lu Yuan's palm touched the hilt of the sword, the lightning attribute chakra within his body instinctively surged into the blade along his arm. Buzz! An unbelievable scene has unfolded. The originally snow-white blade was instantly stained from the bottom up with an extremely deep, jet-black color. But unlike Tanjiro's pure black, on Lu Yuan's black sword, purple lightning patterns that spread out like blood vessels appeared. A tiny electric current crackled along the blade, emanating a terrifyingly violent destructive force. Black background with purple patterns. Hotaru Hagenjika was completely dumbfounded, even her fireman mask tilted to one side. And the blade itself is crackling with lightning. How is that possible? This is completely illogical. Lu Yuan casually twirled his sword, feeling the excellent conductivity of the Nichiren blade, and nodded in satisfaction. It seems chakra can also be conducted through the Nichiren blade. Although the material isn't as sturdy as my Kusanagi sword, it's sufficient for dealing with those weaklings who don't deserve my main weapon. Is the Juho conference tomorrow? Lu Yuan sheathed the extremely stylish Nichiren blade and looked towards the direction of the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters in the distance. It's time to meet those so-called strongest swordsmen. Chapter 9. The night was deep, and the guest rooms at Butterfly House were so quiet that only the occasional chirping of insects could be heard outside the window. Lu Yuan sat cross-legged on the tatami mat, with two knives lying flat on the floor in front of him. One is the Kusanagi sword modified, a gift from the system's newbie gift pack. It is entirely black, with a straight, single-edged sword design. It is indestructible and has the ability to slay demons. The other is the Raimon Black Blade Nichiren blade that Hotaru Hagenjika had just given him during the day. The Nichiren blade's conductivity is indeed quite good. Tamahagane, a mineral that absorbs sunlight, is naturally compatible with my lightning release chakra. Lu Yuan ran his hand over the faintly shimmering purple lightning patterns on the Nichiren blade, but raised an eyebrow slightly. However, its hardness is still too poor. No matter how advanced the forging techniques in this world are, the physical limits of Tamahagane, jade steel, are still there. It might be sharp enough for an ordinary swordsman, but if Lu Yuan were to fully infuse his chakra and unleash the Chidori sharp spear or a more advanced lightning release transformation, this Nichiren blade would most likely shatter due to the overwhelming energy. In a real life or death struggle, if a weapon breaks, even for just a moment, the resulting opening can be fatal. System, could you directly integrate the material properties and conductivity of this Nichiren blade into the Kusanagi sword? Lu Yuan summoned the system in his mind. Ding! Host requirement detected. Solution generation, disassemble the Reizenzua Black Blade Nichiren blade, made of top-grade Tamahagane steel, with high-level chakra conduction properties, and perfectly fuse it into the Kusanagi sword modified. After fusion, the Kusanagi sword will retain its original absolute sturdiness attribute, while gaining extreme lightning chakra conductivity and inheriting the lightning pattern effect from its appearance. This fusion requires 880 dimensional points. Confirm fusion. 880 points? That's just enough to make a round number. Confirm fusion. Lu Yuan issued the command without hesitation. As soon as he finished speaking, an extremely dazzling dark golden light surged out from the void, completely enveloping the two swords on the ground. There was no deafening clang of metal being struck, nor any earth-shattering phenomenon. Only a few seconds passed before the dark golden light quietly dissipated. The Nichiren blade that had been lying on the ground had vanished into thin air, leaving only a straight sword lying quietly in its black scabbard. Lu Yuan reached out and grasped the sword hilt, drawing it with a clang. The transformed Kusanagi sword still retains its textured dark black color, but along the edge of the blade, there are now winding purple lightning patterns that resemble veins. Simply by holding it in his hand, Lu Yuan could feel that the sword had become an extension of his arm. With just a thought, the lightning release chakra within his body could flow effortlessly from the hilt to the tip of the sword. Not bad, now even the power of lightning release can be increased by 20%. Lu Yuan contentedly sheathed the brand new Kusanagi sword, casually placed it beside his pillow, and fell asleep immediately. The next morning, the sun was shining brightly, and a gentle breeze was blowing. Bang bang bang! A loud knocking woke Lu Yuan from his sleep. Lu Yuan! Get up! The sun's already high in the sky, do you think we're going on a picnic today? Shinobu Koko's clear, slightly impatient voice came from outside the door. Ever since Lu Yuan ruthlessly tore off her disguise a few days ago, this sharp-tongued butterfly has completely let loose in front of Lu Yuan. She threw away the mask of a gentle older sister, replacing it with her original arrogance and sharp tongue. The sliding door was pulled open with a whoosh. Lu Yuan walked out yawning, already dressed in a brand new black Demon Slayer Corps uniform. However, he was dressed extremely casually, with the top 3 buttons undone, his open collar revealing his strong collarbone, and a plain black haori casually draped over his shoulders. "What's with the rush, all early in the morning?" Yuan glanced at her. Today, Shinobu Coco was still wearing her signature butterfly-patterned haori, but perhaps because of the stimulation from Yuan's comment yesterday that she was a hot-tempered, sharp-tongued little loli, she wore light makeup, which was unusual for her, making her look radiant and beautiful. Is this how you wear a uniform? You're ruining the discipline of the Demon Slayer Corps." Seeing Yuan's disheveled and nonchalant appearance, Shinobu frowned, subconsciously stepped forward, stood on tiptoe, and reached out to help him button up his collar. The distance between them instantly closed, and they could even feel each other's breath. Yuan lowered his head slightly, looking at Shinobu Coco, who was so close to him. A healthy blush tinged her fair cheeks, and her serious eyes held a hint of disdain, but her movements were surprisingly gentle. "The way you're acting now, you look more like a virtuous wife and loving mother seeing her husband off at the door," Yuan blurted out unexpectedly. Click! Shinobu's fingers suddenly froze, and she almost pulled off the button she had just fastened. What nonsense are you spouting?" Shinobu Coco staggered back 2 steps as if electrocuted, her once fair cheeks instantly turning bright red to her ears, her purple eyes filled with shame, anger, and panic. "Stop patting yourself on the back. I'm just worried that seeing you like this, looking like a scoundrel, will bring shame to the Butterfly Mansion." Shinobu Coco glared at him, forcing a calm expression, then turned and walked away, her pace quickening considerably. "Hurry up and catch up. If you're late, I won't be collecting your corpse." Watching her almost fleeing figure, Yuan chuckled, picked up the Kusanagi sword on the table, and leisurely followed after her. The Demon Slayer Corps headquarters, the Yabayashiki residence. The expansive Japanese garden is paved with white pebbles and surrounded by lush pine and cypress trees. At this moment, several figures exuding powerful auras had gathered in the center of the courtyard, some standing and some standing. The 9 pillars, who are the Demon Slayer Corps' strongest fighters, are all present today for the first time ever. "Hey, I say, did our lord really convene this special meeting just to meet a newcomer who just passed the final selection?" A young man with spiky white hair and covered in scars leaned against a tree trunk, looking irritable. "The Wind Pillar, Sanamai Shinazugawa." His eyes blazed with undisguised ferocity. "One person slaughtered Tengzi Mountain? What a joke! That garbage dump that breeds useless trash, I could kill them all with my eyes closed." "Don't say that. To gain the Lord's favor, this person must possess exceptional talent. It's truly an exhilarating thing." Rengoku Kyojuro, the flame pillar with long, yellow-red hair and piercing eyes, stood with his arms crossed and spoke in a loud voice. "No matter what, it's not elegant to alert the Lord without going through layers of assessment." Sound pillar Uzui Tenjin touched the jeweled headscarf on his forehead and pursed his lips. On a tree branch, Obanayaguro, the serpent pillar with a white snake coiled around his neck, sneered, "Just a pretentious brat trying to attract attention. If he dares to show any disrespect to the Lord, I'll snap his neck immediately." Not far away, Mitsurai Kanroji, the love pillar, covered her flushed cheeks, her heart pounding wildly. "Oh my, I heard he's an extremely handsome young man. What kind of person could someone as proud as Shinobu-chan personally accompany? I can't wait." At the very edge of the courtyard, the water column, Yoshiyuki Tomioka, stood there all alone. He didn't participate in the discussion, his deep blue eyes were fixed on the entrance to the courtyard, and his hands unconsciously tightened around the Nichiren blade at his waist. Just then, footsteps came from the gravel path outside the courtyard. The pillars, who had been talking, fell silent instantly, their 9 pairs of eyes, sharp as tangible swords, piercing towards the entrance. Shinobu Coco was the first to step into the courtyard. Beside her, Yuan, half a step behind, walked in with one hand in his pocket and the other casually carrying a black straight sword. He looked languid. Faced with the terrifying pressure released simultaneously by several pillars, enough to suffocate an ordinary swordsman instantly, Liu Yuan's steps did not even falter in the slightest, and his breathing rate did not change. Oh? So these are the pillars the Demon Slayer Corps refers to. Liu Yuan's gaze swept over the crowd, a smug, undisguised smile playing on his lips. They don't seem like much. Aside from their loud voices and odd outfits, they don't seem to have anything special. Upon hearing this, the air in the courtyard instantly plummeted to freezing. The extremely protective and violent wind pillar, Sanamai Shinazugawa, had several veins bulge on his forehead. "You little brat, what did you say?" Boom! The cobblestones beneath Sanamai's feet shattered with a deafening roar. He transformed into a raging azure whirlwind, using the terrifying momentum of his charge to unleash his right leg with a piercing whoosh as it swept fiercely toward Liu Yuan's head. "Shut that stinking mouth of yours!" Although this attack did not utilize breathing techniques, the power of this kick, given the physical attributes of a pillar, was enough to shatter a boulder. Shinobu instinctively wanted to speak up and remind him, but before she could say anything, she swallowed the words back. Because she saw the look in Liu Yuan's eyes, the look of someone looking at a clown. Liu Yuan didn't even blink when faced with Sanamai's powerful whip kick. Just as the leg was about to sweep across him, his left hand, which was in his pocket, shot out with lightning speed. With a snap, Sanamai's right leg, powerful enough to shatter boulders, came to an abrupt halt just 5 centimeters from Liu Yuan's head. Liu Yuan's left hand gripped Shimai's ankle tightly. No matter how hard Sanamai exerted himself, that slender hand didn't budge even the slightest bit. How is this possible? Sanamai's pupils contracted sharply, his heart filled with shock. He's the Pillar of Wind. A pure test of physical strength, and he was caught by a rookie with one hand. Too slow, unstable lower body, and full of openings when exerting force. Liu Yuan's cold voice rang in Shimai's ears. The next second, Liu Yuan pulled down sharply with his left hand, while simultaneously kicking Shimai's knee, which was supporting his leg, viciously with his right foot. Bang! Losing his balance, Sanamai had no time to react. He was slammed to the ground by Liu Yuan's irresistible force while still in mid-air. A deafening roar. The pebbles on the ground were smashed, creating a large crater, and dust billowed up. Damn it! Sanamai roared in fury, struggling to get up. But Liu Yuan had already placed a foot on his chest, the heavy force causing Shimai to expel all the air he had just inhaled, his face turning purplish red. Quiet! A deathly silence. Throughout the entire courtyard, all the pillars, including Rengoku Kyojuro and Uzui Tenjin, wore expressions of utter disbelief. From the moment Sanamai launched his attack to the moment Liu Yuan flipped him over and trampled him underfoot with a single hand, the entire process took less than a second. The wind pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps was actually overwhelmed in hand-to-hand combat by a rookie. Let him go. Obanaiguro's eyes flashed coldly as he leaped down from the tree, gripping the hilt of his sword tightly with his right hand, ready to draw his blade and force Liu Yuan back. However, just as Iguro was about to make his move, clang! A cold, clear blade of light, like ripples on water, suddenly flashed past, blocking Obanaiguro's path. Water column Tomioka Jiyu. At this moment, Jiyu Tomioka had already drawn half of his Nichiren blade. His deep blue eyes shone with an unprecedented determination and coldness as he stared intently at Iguro and the other pillars who were about to make their move. Anyone who dares to touch him is an enemy of Tomioka Jiyu. Yi Yang's voice wasn't loud, but it carried an undeniable resolve that echoed through the courtyard. At that moment, everyone was stunned. Even Liu Yuan raised an eyebrow, looking at the usually taciturn Shui Zhu with some surprise. Tomioka! Are you crazy? This kid injured Sanamai at headquarters, and you're still protecting him. Obanaiguro roared angrily. Jiyu Tomioka offered no explanation, but tightened his grip on the sword, and even began to activate his water-breathing technique. At this critical juncture, when tensions were running high and could escalate into infighting between the pillars at any moment, the sliding door of the Japanese-style room directly in front of the courtyard was slowly opened from the inside. Two twin girls, one with white hair and the other with black hair, helped a weak man with purple patches on his face and who was blind, into the corridor. "My lord has arrived." As the little girl's soft voice rang out, the pillars, who were just moments before exuding murderous intent, suddenly seemed to be put on pause. Obanayaguro quickly sheathed his sword, and Sanamai, who had been kicked away by Lu Yuan, also endured the sharp pain in his chest and got up. In the blink of an eye, all 9 pillars, including Shinobu Koko and Gyutomyoka, knelt down on one knee and lowered their proud heads. In the vast courtyard, only Lu Yuan remained, still holding the black sword in one hand, standing tall and straight, observing the Demon Slayer Corps' supreme leader, Yubayashiki Kaguya, with great interest. Chapter 10. Good morning everyone. The weather is really nice today. Kaguya Yubayashiki's voice was extremely gentle, as if it possessed some strange magic, instantly silencing the previously tense and murderous courtyard. This special voice can easily soothe the anxiety and anger in ordinary people's hearts. However, Lu Yuan, standing in the center of the courtyard, merely raised an eyebrow. His mental strength had long since reached a terrifying level, and this kind of soothing sound was nothing more than a gentle breeze to him. His dark eyes calmly gazed at the blind man before him, whose face was covered in terrifying purplish-red curse marks. "My lord." Sanamai Shinazugawa, the wind pillar who had suffered internal injuries from being trampled, was kneeling on one knee, enduring the excruciating pain in his chest, and reporting through gritted teeth, that BD brat named Riken not only showed you no respect, but even dared to spout nonsense at the sacred pillar meeting. "Please allow me to draw my sword and slay this arrogant fool right here." "Sanamai, you must not be rude." Kaguya Yubayashiki smiled and shook his head, his unfocused, grayish-white eyes fixed precisely on Riku's location. "Lord Riku is not only a distinguished guest of our Demon Slayer Corps, but also a benefactor who has saved countless children's lives." "Benefactor? Him?" Sanamai suddenly raised his head, his face full of resentment and astonishment. Not only Sanamai, but also the sound Hashira Uzui Tenjin, the flame Hashira Rengoku Kyojuro, and others showed extremely puzzled expressions. Supported by his 2 daughters, Kaguya Yubayashiki slowly sat down in the corridor. His voice was gentle yet firm. "I have heard the entire report on the Fujikazan Mountain final selection. Lord Rikubuchi, single-handedly, without using any known breathing techniques, and without even drawing his Nichiren blade, slaughtered all the demons kept within Fujikazan Mountain in just one day. Among them was even a monstrous demon that had lived for over 40 years, possessed dozens of arms, and had devoured 13 of Urokodaka Seikanji's personal disciples." Boom! Kaguya Yubayashiki's casual words, however, were like a bombshell to the pillars. Without drawing his Nichiren blade, he slaughtered an entire mountain of demons. The sound Hashira, Uzui Tenjin, stared wide-eyed, her face filled with disbelief. How is this possible? Without the Nichiren blade, those demons' regenerative abilities couldn't be suppressed at all. This isn't flashy at all. Wow! This is unheard of. To be able to slay an alien demon without using a Nichiren blade, what astonishing power that is! Flame Pillar Rengoku Kyojuro exclaimed, his eyes wide open and his voice booming like a bell. Meanwhile, Obanayaguro, the serpent pillar standing beneath the tree branch, narrowed his eyes and stared intently at Lu Yuan's calm face. No wonder this guy caught Sanamai's extremely fierce kick so easily with one hand. Being able to slaughter a mountain in a single day is no fluke, it signifies monstrous combat power with absolute overwhelming strength. Just as everyone was in shock, the water pillar, Gyutomyoka, who had been silent all along, suddenly stood up and strode up to Lu Yuan. To everyone's astonishment, this water column, usually as cold as ice and seemingly indifferent to everything, actually knelt down with utmost solemnity and bowed deeply to Lu Yuan. "My lord is right." Jiu Tomioka's voice trembled slightly, almost imperceptibly. "That monstrous demon that has lived for over 40 years is the very one who killed my senior brother Sabato during the final selection. My life, Jiu Tomioka's life, was given to me by Sabato. I never thought I would ever be able to avenge him with my own hands." Jiu raised his head, his deep blue eyes flashing with an unprecedented determination as he stared intently at Lu Yuan. "Mr. Lu Yuan, you slew it. I, Jiu Tomioka, will never forget this kindness. From this day forward, anyone who wishes to harm you will have to step over my dead body first." These words plunged the entire courtyard into a deathly silence. All the pillars were stunned. No one expected that there was such a secret behind Sabato's death back then, and even more unexpectedly, that the proud water pillar would publicly perform such a grand ceremony for a newcomer, even at the cost of standing against the other pillars. "Hey! Tomioka, so that's why you went crazy and drew your sword." Sanamai gritted his teeth. Although he still disliked Lu Yuan, the hostility in his eyes lessened slightly after learning that Lu Yuan had avenged the blood feud of the water-breathing lineage. Seeing this, Lu Yuan rubbed his temples in exasperation. "I was just cleaning up some images to earn a little money, cough, just killing time. You don't need to make it sound so dramatic." Lu Yuan gave a casual, perfunctory reply, then turned his gaze to Yabayashiki Kaguya sitting in the corridor. "Let's leave the small talk here. Boss, you called me here specifically for more than just to praise me in public, right? Name your terms, I hate trouble." This extremely casual, even condescending attitude towards the leader caused the guard's eyes to twitch. However, after witnessing Lu Yuan's strength and background, no one dared to rush forward and attack this time. Kaguya Yabayashiki didn't seem to mind Riku's rudeness. Instead, he smiled gently and said, "Lord Riku is a straightforward person. With your strength, you are fully qualified to become the 10th pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps immediately. But I heard from Shinobu that you seem to dislike being bound by rules." "That's right. Lu Yuan stated bluntly, asking me to patrol my assigned area on time, write those mission reports that are longer than foot bindings, and follow orders? Sorry, I don't have the time for that. In that case, I propose that His Excellency Lu Yuan be granted the position of Special Executive Officer." Kaguya Yabayashiki offered his carefully considered bargaining chip. "You won't be responsible for any specific territory, you won't be bound by any team rules, and you won't even need to take orders from me. You can act freely. But in exchange, if we encounter the 12 demon moons, or discover any trace of Muzan Kibutsuji, I hope you can lend us your strength. Furthermore, you can unconditionally utilize all of the Demon Slayer Corps' logistical resources at any time, including the Butterfly Mansion and the Swordsmith Village." Upon hearing this, all the pillars were shocked. This isn't recruiting team members, it's practically granting Lu Yuan an even more transcendent and completely uncontrolled Emperor Supreme privilege. When the main atmosphere is strong. A satisfied smile curved Lu Yuan's lips as he readily agreed, "Deal. This is a pretty good deal. It's like getting free access to the Demon Slayer Corps' intelligence network and logistics, without having to clock in, and even having people help you call in reinforcements when the 12 demon moons are walking dimensional points gift packs. Only a fool would refuse such a good deal." Ding! Detected that the host has significantly altered the Demon Slayer Corps' centuries-old hierarchical structure, gaining extraordinary privileges. This greatly shocked all the pillars and the Lord, helping the water pillar to resolve its inner conflict. "Congratulations, host! You have gained 2,500 dimensional points." The pleasant system notification in his mind made Lu Yuan even happier. "Now that we've finished discussing the important matters, cough cough." Kaguya Yabayashiki suddenly coughed violently a few times, a trace of black blood spilling from the corner of his mouth. "My lord! The pillars were shocked. I'm fine. Kaguya Yubayashiki waved his hand, slowly rising with the help of his two daughters. Let's conclude today's meeting here. Lord Rikubuchi, I hope your presence will be the sharpest blade to cut through this 1000-year-old tragedy. Excuse me. As Kaguya Yubayashiki left, the solemn atmosphere that had been forcibly suppressed in the courtyard because of the master's presence instantly melted away like ice and snow. Instead, there was an intense, almost explosive fighting spirit, like a powder keg ready to explode at any moment. Swish! 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 No sooner had Kaguya Yubayashiki left than three figures, with perfect coordination, blocked Lu Yuan's path. Hey kid! Even though our lord has granted you special privileges, I haven't swallowed this insult yet. Sanemi Shinazugawa twisted his neck, which was still aching from the kick, his bones cracking and popping. His bloodshot eyes were fixed on Lu Yuan. I was careless just now, I didn't use my breathing technique. I don't believe someone who doesn't even draw his Nichiren blade can be that strong. Yes. Sanemi is right. Flame Hashira, Kyojuro Rengoku, strode forward, his eyes burning with intense heat, his voice booming like a bell. Young Lu Yuan. Your strength is undoubtedly top tier, having slaughtered the entire Fujisaki mountain. But as swordsmen, how can we truly understand each other without exchanging blows with our own swords? I, Kyojuro Rengoku, formally extend an invitation to spar with you. While your fashion sense is anything but stylish, and your boastful behavior just now was incredibly annoying, I must admit, that one move you made to flip Sanemi over with one hand did have a certain flair. Sound Pillar Uzui Tenjin drew two massive swords from behind him, clashing them in midair and creating sparks. A fanatical smile spread across his face. Count me in. Let me see if you are really the monster our lord spoke of. Even the mist Hashira, Tokaido Muchiro, who had been sitting to the side in a daze, tilted his head curiously, his gaze falling on the black sword with purple patterns wrapped around its waist. Although I'll probably forget your name as soon as I turn my back, your sword looks interesting. May I take a look? Watching the pillars instantly transform into battle maniacs and surround Lu Yuan, Shinobu Koko, standing to the side, helplessly rubbed her forehead. She knew it, these arrogant fellows would never truly submit to a newcomer just because of a single word from their lord. They wouldn't accept Lu Yuan without a bloody fight. You lot, don't go too far. Tomioka Jiyuha frowned, his right hand resting on the hilt of his sword again, preparing to step forward to help Lu Yuan out of the predicament. It's all right, Yiyang. Lu Yuan suddenly spoke, interrupting Tomioka Jiyuha's actions. He slowly turned around, facing Sanemi, Rengoku, Tenjin, and the others who were blocking his way. There was no panic on his handsome face, instead, a bloodthirsty smile with a hint of excitement appeared on his face. That's the warlike instinct ingrained in the bones of a time traveler. A friendly spar? Sure. Lu Yuan casually tore off the haori draped over his shoulders and tossed it to Shinobu Koko, then flicked it lightly with his left thumb. Zhang! The Kusanagi sword, wreathed in dark purple lightning patterns, was drawn half an inch from its sheath in an instant, and a chilling killing intent that sent shivers down one's spine erupted from Lu Yuan's body without reservation. Under this powerful aura, even the surrounding air seemed to become viscous. But Lu Yuan slightly raised his head, and in a fraction of a second, his originally dark pupils turned into an eerily crimson color. Three black tomos spun wildly in his blood-red eyes, radiating a terrifying sense of oppression that made one's soul feel as if it were being sucked in with just a glance. Lu Yuan's gaze swept across the faces of the pillars in front of him, the curve of his lips growing increasingly arrogant. Taking them down one by one is a waste of time. All of you, let's all come at me together. Let me teach you what true power is, for free. Boom. These words ignited the fury and fighting spirit of the pillars. Chapter 11. You arrogant brat with such audacity! I'm going to teach you a lesson you won't forget. The already volatile temper of the wind pillar, Shinazugawa Sanamai, was instantly ignited by Lu Yuan's taunt of attack together. Boom! The ground beneath Sanamai's feet instantly exploded into a deep crater, and a blue wind pressure swirled around his Nichiren blade. He was like a raging tornado, tearing through the air and heading straight for Lu Yuan's face. Wind breathing, Form 1, Dust Cyclone Slash. Sanamai showed no mercy with this strike, unleashing terrifying destructive power. Even pillars of the same level would have to temporarily avoid this sudden, drawn sword charge. However, Lu Yuan, who was standing still, simply tilted his head slightly. In the vision of his Crimson Three-Tomo Sharingan, Sanamai's lightning-fast trajectory, the point of muscle exertion, and even the tiny airflow of the blade cutting through the air were all slowed down countless times and clearly imprinted in his mind. Swish! The Nichiren blade, wreathed in wind pressure, slashed down almost grazing Lu Yuan's nose, the sharp sword wind carving a deep trench more than 10 meters long in the ground behind him. What? Sanamai's pupils contracted sharply. Not only did he dodge it, but he also perfectly avoided the attack with an extremely slight movement, without taking a single step back. Your speed is barely passable, but your movements are too easy to predict. Lu Yuan's cold voice rang in Sanamai's ears. At the same time, Lu Yuan's left thumb, which was gripping the hilt of the Kusanagi sword, suddenly pushed forward. Clang! A streak of jet-black sword light, adorned with purple lightning patterns, suddenly appeared from its sheath and struck Sanamai's wrist with an extremely tricky angle. At this critical moment, two extremely ear-piercing explosions suddenly rang out on both sides of Lu Yuan. Sound breathing, first form, boom! The sound pillar, Duzui Tenjin, had appeared to Lu Yuan's left at some point. Two enormous, exaggeratedly designed swords slashed down, accompanied by a violent explosion of specially made gunpowder, instantly turning the area where Lu Yuan stood into a sea of fire. Well done, Tenjin! Obanayaguro, the snake pillar on the tree branch, sneered, just about to draw his sword to block Lu Yuan's retreat. But the next second, everyone's expression froze. The smoke and dust cleared. Lu Yuan, who should have been blasted away or seriously injured, disappeared. In his place was a charred, pine stump. Wood. Where is that kid? Duzui Tenjin stared wide-eyed.
वीडियोस बनाने हैं, फिल्मोरा है ना?